Hi everyone, and welcome to this Videos on Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield, and today is June the 28th, 2013, and it is a Friday. Now, first things first, you're probably noticing that I look quite a bit different, and that's because I've had my hair cut. I did like having long black hair, but yeah, unfortunately, it took a lot of upkeep, and it was kind of falling out a wee bit, and that was obviously quite difficult to kind of keep up with sometimes. So I've kind of had it cut back to a number 2. Like I had it growing up in my teenage years. But that is not the purpose of this video. In this video, I want to tell you a wee story. Now, if I was a member of Stereo Dust Particles, this would be the part where I say, "Hey guys, this is Jay Tells a Story." But I'm not. Anyway, I just said it anyway. Sorry, you XW Bellweasel, 2HTM, V Westlife, LML3, and NJ Road fan, Corvette fan, all the other members of Stereo Dust Particles. Anyway, what was I about to say? So, a couple of days ago marked the 12th birthday of a very special computer. And that is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Now, my family, we got our first computer back in May 1998. We got a Compaq Presario 2240, and it's a brilliant machine, still goes to this day, and even though it was the cheapest machine that you could actually buy, it was still an absolute joy to use. And apart from a lot of the 3D games that you've...
Avast virus database has been updated.
Would you mind? Apart from a lot of the 3D games that you find, that were around back in the day, the machine actually ran quite a few good games. It certainly runs the original Grand Theft Auto game absolutely fine, not a problem there. However, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't run anything really 3D. Now, we had this machine in use as our main machine from May 98 until April 2002. However, I was always into computers. I got... my first machine that I used was the BBC Micro back in 1992, 93, whenever it was. And then I used to enjoy typing using a program called Folio when I moved into Primary 1. And as I moved into Primary 2, a couple of months before I was due to turn 7, I started to learn to type. And when I say I started to learn to type, I started to learn how to properly touch type. And I don't know what it was then, but that really, really got me interested in computers. Now, I don't know if it was because I used to have typing lessons before school, before, main school began and I was able to miss assembly. I really wouldn't be able to say. But I really did enjoy it. And my love of computing kind of kicked off from there, in earnest. And, I was always, always interested to, be able to go on the computer and do certain things. And, yes, we had the Compaq Presario 2240, but that was only for use under, supervision, because obviously, we paid a lot for the computer. So, Mum liked to supervise us all. And obviously, and it really was only for homework, even though we did get to play a couple of games on it. So I was able to actually, use that for a bit. It was, I did enjoy using the Compaq. However, I always used to like to mess about on computers. Mainly in the parts of computers where parents and teachers didn't want kids to go. Things like the control panel, and other various settings of the computer. So, I was kind of good. I, managed to keep out of the settings on the computer. I remember every time I would go on the computer, Mum would be like, right, don't go changing any defaults. But, in 2001, in 2000, I really started, in earnest, getting into the more technical sides of computers, like installing programs, getting that sort of well, not that that's really considered technical, but I don't know, I just kind of started getting more into kind of the technical stuff, I guess like installing programs and making web pages and, custom program icons and, other things like that. I was really quite into that. As well as creating games using Click and Play, which we'd got in 1998. I really enjoyed doing that. Now, I started using Click and Play for a school project, and the teacher let me take it into school and install it there. However, unfortunately, my mum at the time would believe that you could get a computer virus from a CD-ROM. Well, when I say that, yes, it's entirely possible to get a computer virus from a CD-ROM, but she believed that CD-ROMs were writable, that they weren't read-only, and that if I put them into a school computer, then I'd be at risk of, bringing home an infection on the disk. And it didn't really matter how many times I tried to explain to her that a CD was read-only, and that, I could put it in as many computers as I liked and it would not, catch any viruses from said machines. I wasn't allowed to use it with the Compaq again. And unfortunately, my mum was quite, she was quite, I'm trying to think of the word for it. She was quite conscientious about conserving hard disk space, so she didn't want me to do a full install of Click and Play on the hard drive, which was fair enough. So I installed Click and Play at school, which basically meant I didn't get to use it at home again. However, I did keep hold of the disk, because, at the end of the day, it kind of was my disk. But in March of 2001, something happened that, in a way, kind of knocked me sideways. Now, I'd always obviously fancied the idea of getting my own computer, so, for me to do whatever I wanted with. And, I remember in January 2001 I tried entering a competition on CITV, which is the children's, which is a kind of a children's, well, it's a children's channel nowadays. In the UK, I tried entering a competition with them, to design a game, and the prize, which was up for grabs, was an HP Pavilion computer of some sort. Kind of mind what like it was, but at the time, all I cared about was, it'd be a computer, and if I won it, it'd be mine. Naturally, I didn't win this machine. However, in March 2001, something did happen that kind of knocked me sideways. I got a call from a cousin, and they said, well, hey, we've got this computer, and unfortunately, unfortunately our son was up, and it came with Windows 3.1. Our son was up and he tried installing Windows 95 or 98 on it, I can't mind which, but, unfortunately since then it's just not been working. Would you like it and see if you can fix it? Of course I jumped at the chance. So I remember, so what I did, I didn't really know much about computer problems then, but what I did was I made a Windows 95 boot disk. I mean, I did read Computer Active, so I was learning, things as I went along. And, I read Computer Active. And, knew how to make a Windows 95 boot disk. So I did that on the Compaq. The next day, the computer was brought round. It was an old 1994 ESCOM. 1994, 95, or it could have been earlier, I'm not too sure. But it was an ESCOM machine. ESCOM were a German computer maker, and unfortunately this computer had decided that it was not going to be German anymore. The motherboard had went on the fritz. When I connected up the machine, yes, I knew how to do that, quite simple. I got screen, base unit, keyboard, mouse, and yes, it was a multimedia system. So I even got, sound card and speakers. CD-ROM drive was installed. Powered the machine on, and all I got was an odd flickering from the screen. The machine would power on, all the fans would spin up, what fans were on that machine, but nothing would happen. So, and I tried a couple of times. Apparently, the wrong lead was brought round. So, my cousin came back a wee bit later and brought round the correct lead. But still, that didn't really do anything, because the wrong lead was the power lead. This was a machine whose power supply would actually have a fitting to actually plug a monitor in. I kind of miss those designs in a way. But I guess, it's kind of, in a way, overloading the power supply, to have to power a screen as well. So, the Easter holidays were nearly here. And so, during that Easter break, my parents actually took the computer to a local repair shop to see what could be done. And that's when we got the diagnosis that the motherboard had failed. But there was quite a lot of bad news that they gave us. Because I said I wanted to do game creation, they probably thought that I meant I wanted to make 3D games or something, which would require a much more powerful PC. What they didn't realise is that I would be using Click and Play, which, can run on a, at least a good middling Windows 3.1 system. You know, and as long as you've got the Super VGA 256 colour graphics card, you know, you'd be fine with it. So what happened was they said that the motherboard had gone, that I would probably need a new computer. You know, I'd probably need to spend about £1,000 on a new computer, and that the screen is really old, and that I would therefore need a new screen to go along with that. So we brought the machine back, and we, you know, I kept it in my room and in its box for a few days. Well, I just kind of kept it in my room in its box. Anyway. And when the school term restarted, I actually did the only thing that I could think to do. Now, our school technician, he was really quite helpful. He is absolutely brilliant. I mean, I still, you know, chat to his daughter on Facebook. You know, it's he was a brilliant man. He would help anyone. And so it was that I actually asked him for his help. I said, could you take a look at this computer? I think the motherboard's broken. So he said, not a problem, bring it in. So the next day, I went to school with this computer in tow. Dropped it off to him, and at the time I was at Temple Bank. I mean, this was 2001. So at Temple Bank, we had reviews. All the students had annual reviews, where, you know, the teachers would actually talk, kind of like parents' evening, but a lot more personal. You know, the teachers would talk about you personally, not just about how you were doing in subjects, but about you developmentally, you know. That's always a good thing. You know, especially at Temple Bank, you know, where, you know, there was not that many, well, there was quite a few people at Temple Bank who could be deemed as not neurotypical. And so that school really did go the extra mile, you know, to try and, you know, make us, well, help us to kind of learn skills that we might need, you know, for later life. So anyway, my annual review is due. And, you know, we all went to it. And, yeah, my parents went to it. And then after the review, my mum actually had a word with the technician, and he said, well, look, yeah, the motherboard, you know, he basically confirmed what the computer shop had said, that yes, the motherboard had gone, but he said, well, look, I'll price you up some components from CCL, which is where, you know, he would get the components for the school machines. So a couple of days later, I took home a list of components that he'd actually written up, you know, priced up and written up. Not only had he priced up the components, he gave us 4 options, you know, to make it simple. These 4 options were computer with 64 megs of RAM with no internet. Then there was computer with 64 megs of RAM with internet. Then there was computer with 128 megs of RAM with no internet. And then there was computer with 128 megs of RAM with internet. Now, I can't remember what the prices were, like, accurately, but suffice it to say, it wasn't as much as the computer shop had quoted us. And this was going to set us back about, you know, £200 to £300. I think it was actually closer to 300. However, what we did do was we recycled components that were still going from the ESCOM. Now, I took this list home, and you know, my mum had a look at it, and she actually said, right, we'll go for the 128 megs of RAM, no internet access. So basically, it would. I mean, we weren't. I mean, the computer was going to go up the stairs. So I mean, this was certainly for the UK. This was back in the days of dial-up. So I mean, there was no phone line up the stairs in our house. So I mean, there'd be no point in paying extra to fit a modem. So we got this. We selected which machine we were going to build, and the technician set to work building the machine. Now, obviously, he couldn't do that above all other things. He had school jobs to do. But while I was waiting for the system, I was quite obsessed with computers. I mean, I still am, I guess, but unfortunately, at the time, I mean, my Asperger's was undiagnosed. But, I mean, I was, forgetting to give letters and, forgetting to kind of get stuff sorted for, different subjects at school. Not because of this computer. I'm not going to... but just because, I had computers on the brain in general. But, I mean, that is what... that's what like with Asperger's. That's what it's like. And obviously, my parents were not too pleased with how things were going, and there was really not much that they could do, unfortunately. But I waited for this computer, and I was really quite excited about what I was going to get to do with it. I was like, I'm going to be able to run click and play. I'm going to be able to do my web page creation, but it's quite funny because I have no interest in internet development at the moment. But back then, I just loved the idea of having my own website. I love the idea that one day I could have my own internet presence. I don't know why, but back in 2001, the evolution of Internet Explorer actually fascinated me greatly. And I spent a lot of time thinking about the differences between IE3 and IE4, and IE5, and, Active Desktop, what that would do, and different versions of Internet Explorer that would come with Front Page Express. Spent a lot of time agonising over why Internet Explorer 5.5 did not come with Front Page Express, why the Active Desktop wasn't included with Internet Explorer 5 or 5.5. I don't know what it was. It's just, kind of the Aspergian mind. But, I mean, I knew that I was going to have a machine and, I was going to be able to, experiment with all these things myself. However, I did ask for Windows 98 to be installed on it, and that's what I ended up with. I really like it. I still like 98 to this day. I didn't like 98 First Edition, I have to be honest. I hated it. I wish it would go away and that Windows 95 would once again be the operating system of choice. But it didn't go away. It was replaced with Windows 98 Second Edition, which was, well, just fantastic. But again, it really did agonise me as to why Front Page Express was not included. I mean, I know there's much better web editors out there, but Front Page Express is free. And it's quite funny, why would I be interested in websites if we weren't even on the internet? But, okay, never mind. Anyway, so on June the 26th, it finally happened. My school technician had basically done what he normally does and came through for me. He actually came through to my maths class on that sunny Tuesday afternoon of the 26th of June 2001 and placed the computer on the desk. I was... I can't even begin to say. It was just... I could not stop staring at it. This was my computer. This is what I've been waiting for. It's just fantastic. And yes, I understand I did bug the technician about it, and you know, I'd like to apologise here. Yes, I'm sorry for all the times I was like, is it ready yet? I would like to apologise if you ever get to see this video. Yes, I did bug you an awful lot. I'm really, really sorry about this, but even now, 12 years later, I still appreciate what you did. Really. Oh my goodness, it was... So the maths teacher let me connect it up to... there was a spare monitor, mouse and keyboard in the room because one of the computers had been taken away. For whatever reason, I do not know. So he let me plug it in and have a go. Now, bearing in mind there was only a Windows 98 install on there and nothing else. There's not a lot I could do with it. But I made up user accounts for my siblings and myself. And yeah, basically just had to go with that, you know. And then when I went home that night, I had to wait until my mum got back. She was doing a part-time job in a local camera shop at the time. So I had to wait until she got back to be able to plug it in. And when we did plug it in, I was obviously able to install everything that I'd been after installing. Now, Mum from time to time would buy computer magazine discs. Well, computer magazines with discs on them, not just the discs. And that was absolutely brilliant because we actually got a copy of Personal Computer World back in 1999. Personal Computer World was the sister publication of Computer Active, produced by VNU Business Publications Limited. VNU, back in the 90s and the early 2000s, in my view, they were second to none. And while you'll actually get, you know, lots of goodies, you know, on CDs bundled on the front of future publishing magazines, I certainly believe, you know, having, you know, well, reading a copy of PC Format in comparison with Computer Active, PC Format, it kind of reads like it's been written by a couple of, you know, by a load of freshers, you know, at university, with, you know, once the drinks started flowing. Seriously does have that kind of air about it, which it's a shame because, I mean, PC Format is a good magazine, but Computer Active was just better. And, you know, I mean, I really did, you know, enjoy reading both magazines. However, on this Personal Computer World disc, I mean, Mum only bought probably one or two issues of PCW magazine. But we got one with a 2-disc special. Still remember it now. And on one of the discs, we had Lotus Smart Suite 97. Now, the compact Presario 2240 only came with Works 4.0. But I wanted a full Office suite. So, I mean, I tried Lotus Smart Suite on the compact, and I liked it. I liked what I saw. So I thought, right, gonna install this. And that's what I did. I installed it. I installed Lotus. I installed Word Pro. I did install WordViewer 97 though, so I could still open... I could finally take things home on floppy disk. I guess Mum didn't mind so much on this machine. You know, that finally bring work home to do. Instead of printing it off and have to copy type it or whatever I did, or just to fit, you know, or just append differently printed pages to it. I could actually continue working at home. Fantastic. Loved it. Really did. However, remember me saying that any bits from the SCOM that worked we used? The hard drive was one of those working parts. So here we had a 633 MHz Celeron system. Yes, I know the CPU is a wee bit low end, but what you've got to remember, this machine was kind of built to a budget. And for those who want to tell me how rubbish it is, you didn't use it. Well, some of you, unless one of my siblings wants to tell me how rubbish it is, that's fine, they did use it, but that machine did everything I asked of it. And yes, while it may have run out of hard disk space, crashed a couple of times, or what have you, it never did break. Parts on it broke, the old parts, but I mean, we'll come back to that. So, we had a 633 MHz Celeron system with a VIA VT8601A motherboard. Absolutely fantastic board. Again, VIA chipsets are not highly thought of, but this one was pretty good. It had a Trident Cyberblade 3D graphics card in it. Again, pretty good. Pretty good for, some things, but for DVD playback, as I would find out, only would work in Windows 98, not necessarily in 2000, without epic tearing. However, back when the system was first built, it had the processor, 128 megs of memory, which was a lot better than the Compact's 32 megs of memory, 854 meg hard disk. Yes, you heard me. An 854 meg hard disk. However, because it worked, it went in. And yes, it did severely limit what I could do. I couldn't install games on it, unless they were really simple ones. I could install Lotus Smart Suite, but I had to go with, I had to trim down what I didn't need. I had to go for a, bare minimum kind of install. I managed to get a version of Internet Explorer 5 to install that would give me front page. Although I didn't like the provided by Virgin broadband thing. Too brilliant, if I'm honest. I didn't like it. And Click and Play installed, but again, I would have to run it from the CD-ROM. So, that was quite a shame. But, I got through. I did try different Office suites to see if anything would be better. However, in September, I don't know what I did, but I managed to mess up the Windows 98 installation. So I got my first shotty of reinstalling Windows 98. Over the summer I'd really messed about with the machine quite a lot. Put different versions of Internet Explorer on it, for example. I managed to somehow delete Internet Explorer from the system without even using 98 Lite. Because I inadvertently put IE2 on, which came with something else that I'd installed. Whoops. But that, I don't know what ruined the Windows 98 installation in the end. But I reinstalled it over the top of it itself. But even when I did, the password list file had gone, so you didn't need a password to log in. The graphics were at VGA 16 colours. The whole thing was just a mess. So, using a 3-part guide from Computeractive that they'd published in the spring of 2001, or was it, earlier than that? Probably could have been. I actually set about reinstalling Windows 98. And do you know what? I found it exhilarating. I really did. I just loved being able to pair a computer down and just install it. It's brilliant. And I got it up and running, and it was basically like new again. Got Lotus back on. I mean, obviously, I was a wee bit scared when the drivers, needed installed, but, I had the disk that was provided with the motherboard. Everything that I needed was on the motherboard. So it was brilliant. It was absolutely fine. I got the motherboard. Well, I got 98 installed. However, before that, in the summer, I did get. At Temple Bank we used to have prize giving. At the end of term, if you'd achieved, you did well. If you'd achieved something within that school term, you'd win a prize. And for academic year 2000 to 2001, I actually got the prize for music and IT, my 2 best subjects, back in the day. So, during the summer holidays, I took these vouchers to Smith's, £5 each, put them towards a book. Sam's Teach Yourself Visual Basic in 24 hours. In fact, I believe I still have it. You'll have to forgive me. It's in not the best condition. But I got this book for my 2001 custom build. And not only did I get the book, I even got a CD with Visual Basic 6 working model. Oh, and yes, that too took up quite a lot of precious hard disk space. But I didn't really get too far with it, but I did give it its best shot. I wanted to learn to program, so I had to go with not only that, but the night before I needed to reinstall Windows, I did have a go with Lotus's own macro creation utilities. Now, unfortunately, that kind of started me on a wee bit of a Windows install rampage. I'd be formatting once a week. Nobody needs to format that often. Seriously. Herp derp. But, yeah, I did that. But, one day, I was reinstalling everything. I got given a printer by my science teacher that he didn't use anymore. One day I was reinstalling everything. And I was reinstalling the printer driver, which came on a diskette, floppy disk, ejected the disk drive, and the blooming plate, the protection plate on the floppy disk, this thing, had gotten stuck in the floppy drive. Needless to say, I was mortified. So I had to take the machine in for repair. Luckily, the technician was able to sort it out. But while he had the machine, I had him install Windows 2000 for me. Windows 2000, 854 meg hard drive. I think you can start to see where this is going. Yeah, didn't really work out that well. What he did do for me though was he put in a 1.2 gig drive. Very nice of him. I really appreciated that. And I installed Windows 2000. I installed Windows 2000 onto that. Now at the time, around that time, I'd decided that, you know, I'd had enough of Lotus. I mean, my brother was studying at school. He was studying computers, and when he tried to print off a spreadsheet, Lotus 123 didn't really do it properly. In fact, it just seemed to spit out reams of blank paper. I mean, it wasn't the printer, because everything else worked fine, but it's like, you know, we were learning Excel in school, and, you know, and then he was coming home to use 123. So I managed to get a hold of a copy of Office 4.2. Yes, an old version of Office, but it was really the only thing that would fit on, you know, this 854 meg hard drive. So, you know, I mean, I got that. That was, you know, that was pretty good. But when I got the computer back after having installed Windows 2000 on it, I came home, started installing Office, and I mean, that was all going well. So my antivirus software said that there was a virus on disk 11. And, you know, so I was like thinking, no way. Because, I mean, I'd used those disks before, and I'd not used them on a different machine since. So that was, you know, all very well and good. I mean, I, you know, started installing, you know, got to disk 11, and all was going well. I mean, I was, and then I had to take a phone call. And then my big brother started chatting to me, and I'm like, and I said, look, I'm on the phone. He got annoyed and just boop, hit the reset button of the 2001 custom belt. Restarted the machine. Windows started up, and then blue screened. That was it. Corrupted a 2-day-old Windows 2... Well, corrupted a 3-day-old Windows 2000 install. Was not best pleased. So, I had to reinstall that. And one of my friends actually gave me a copy of Office 97. You know, and so I installed that instead. They were like, oh, Jay, don't be using those old disks. Use this. So I had Office 97. I was very pleased with that. But a week later, you know, I got Office 2000 from another friend. You can imagine. So the 2001 custom belt, well, that was all kitted out. Windows 2000 and Office 2000. I got the 2001 custom belt basically where I wanted it. You know, I had Office 2000, Windows 2000, and it was just fantastic. Built on NT technology, had a nice modern UI. It was just brilliant. And I mean, yes, XP was out then, but I mean, come on. Without paying through the nose for it, who's going to get XP? So I mean, I got Windows 2000. I mean, that was absolutely fine. I mean, I like Windows 2000. So Christmas time was coming up. And for Christmas that year, I got a Kodak MC3 digital camera. Which was absolutely fine. However, here's where the problem is. Originally, Windows 2000 was installed on the smaller of the two hard drives, the 815 meg hard drive. The 1.2 gig drive, which wasn't much bigger, was the programs drive. However, whenever you install programs, doesn't matter which drive you install it to, a whole bunch of files have to be copied to the boot drive. And it seems that some of the programs that I installed seem to copy as much to the boot drive as it would to the applications drive. So I was out of space on drive C when I tried to install the digital camera software. So I actually had to format. I didn't want to do that. So I started to reformat, get all my applications reinstalled, reinstall the digital camera software package. Nothing. Couldn't get the damn thing to work. So I thought, okay, I'll try again. I'll try reinstall Windows. And you see driver conflict. Just get a basic install going. And as I was doing this, the CD-ROM drive started to fail. There was a groaning sound coming from the inside. And as the Christmas holiday progressed, it became quite clear that that CD-ROM drive had seen better days. And it finally got to the point where it just would not read at all. So, guess where the machine went? Back to the technician. Yeah. Once again, I'd like to thank you for taking so much time to nurse my 2001 custom belt back to health every time I made it fall down and scrape its knees. So, a couple of weeks later, I got it back. My mum sorted out £20 for a 52-speed Samsung CD-ROM drive from CCL. Nice. And I got this machine back with a much faster drive in it, and it did make installs go a lot quicker. So that was the machine. That was it fine. No more real technical problems with it. Because the only thing now that was remaining out of the original XCOM build was the floppy drive. And that wouldn't die for a wee while. So I went on my merry way. I liked Windows 2000-ness. But here's the problem. Windows 98 was much kinder to my hard disks on space. So, I'd switch back and forth between the two. And switch back and forth between Office 97 and 2000, as I saw fit. But eventually I just kind of stuck with Office 2000 because, it's much better. Well, I thought it was much better at the time. So, I was doing a paper round at this time. I started a paper round in September 2001. And, at the time I was thinking about, should I get an external CD-ROM drive? At Christmas, when my other one had packed up. To save having to fit an internal one. Obviously I never did. But in April 2002, my mum got a new machine. Aldi were doing computers. And, they would sometimes have offers on. So they had this offer on for a median computer. This was a Pentium 4. It was 2 gigahertz, 256 megs of RAM. Isn't a lot, but it seemed like a lot. 80 gigabyte hard drive, which was fantastic for back in the day. DVD-ROM and CD writer drives. Again, absolutely brilliant. And I mean, there was just nothing that it seemed that this machine couldn't do. I mean, they sold it really well, and I mean, my parents were just kept on looking at it. Anyway, I mean, there was a lot of we used to keep a lot of discs in the front room, in the best room of the house, and quite often I used to sneak in there and get some to, kind of install or play with on my 2001 custom belt. I walked in there one day and I saw some speakers. And I'm like thinking, oh my goodness, what's this? What have they got speakers for? But anyway, on April the 17th, I mean, I'd been throughout, also from September 2001, I'd been seeing a girl. Well, I mean, I was only a boy then, so it was fine. I'd been seeing a girl, and on April the 17th, we finished. It was a bit of a shame, and, I was completely upset, distraught. But my mum was like, oh, Jay, I've got something that'll cheer you up. Have a look in the front room. And I went back and I had a look, and lo and behold, there was the Median. Now, just in case you're wondering if this replaced my 2001 custom belt, it didn't. However, it did give me some ideas on how to better the 2001 custom belt. That machine was brilliant. I remember a week later my parents put it up. Wow, I was just so impressed. It had a big screen. It was, I'd seen Windows XP and PC World. I'd had several goes with it. And I was just like, wow. I was amazed. Just totally and I just loved it. And I got to see WorkSuite 2002 with Encarta, and, how Encarta had came along since 98, which had been the last version that I'd used. But what the price of admission for me with that computer really was a CD burner. Now, as a child, I was into music. I was into recording my own music, composing and recording stuff. And I always liked the idea of having my work on CD. And in August 2001, I did just that. I was in with a project called the Here Is Now project. And, set up by Bradford Social Services. And, we all got a chance to, kind of put poetry and music onto CD. And I recorded a couple of my songs, Tandem of Love and You Are My Fire, for that. But with a CD writer at my disposal, I could finally record all of my songs onto CD. So, I had the Kodak MC3 digital camera. We did get it working. I don't know how we did it, but we took it into Curry's, and they actually connected it up to one of their machines, and they got it going. So, that camera had an MP3 player on it. So I was able to record the songs using the 2001 custom belt. And this was back when Real Jukebox would actually let you record stuff from the microphone. I bought a microphone in October 2001 for the system. So there it was in April 2002. With the microphone near to me and the keyboard. Yes, it sounded terrible, but I recorded a few of my songs. I loaded them onto my digital camera, went down the stairs, loaded Real Jukebox onto the Median, unloaded the songs. You could actually do two-way transfers. Something that is quite foreign to iTunes users, I would probably wager. And that was I had the songs on the system, on Mum's computer, and I was able to use Nero 5 to bound them to CD. And that was it. I finally had my own pressed CD. Now, I did another one, which wasn't the best actually. But I mean, I'd been mostly saving my paper round money. And eventually, what I did was I decided that, hey, I want a CD burner. So we went to the computer fair. Well, we went to PC World, we had a look. Originally I was going to get an external one, and I did. Went to PC World, had a look, and then someone told us that the computer fair was on. It was a computer fair that would sometimes, happen in one of the sports halls of the local sports centre. So we went there, and we had a look. There was all sorts of things, there was routers and tiny laptops and personal organisers, and there was all sorts. But I was wanting my CD burner. Now, we found a likely stall. And we found one that was really quite a good deal. It was £70, it was HP, it was 12 speed by 8 by 32, which again doesn't sound much, but compared to the other ones that I'd seen in PC World, which were 4 by 4 by 6, 4 speed CD write, 4 speed CD rewrite, 6 speed read, it was just so much better. I was sold. I asked, is this USB? And the guy was like, yeah, it is. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Started kind of having a look at the box in the car on the way home. There was no USB cable with the drive. But that wasn't the main problem. The main problem was that the drive, had there been a USB cable included, it would not have been of any use to me at all whatsoever. Because as it turns out, the CD burner was a SCSI model. I had well and truly derped that one. About 10 years before the term derp even existed. If not less. So, the guy wrote his number down, we tried calling him, and guess what? We got no answer. Let this be a lesson to you. When you're buying from computer fairs, if you think you've checked it enough times, check it twice more, just to make sure that what you are buying is right. Because quite often, you might not get any recourse. You might not have any recourse on the products. If anything goes wrong, you could be on your own, as we were. Which is probably a good idea not to buy big computers. Well, big computer purchases. I mean, not that £70 was a small purchase, mind you. So, we had a CD writer that I could not use. Didn't stop me installing all the software though. What we did was Mum was very good. When I was at school that week, she went down to PC World and got me the appropriate parts. We got a SCSI card and we got a SCSI cable. Now, at this point, you're probably going to say to me, at this point, you're probably going to expect me to say, and then I took the machine back to school, and there it went back to the technician. But actually, no, it didn't. We decided to have a go at fitting it ourselves. So, on the Monday night, as I got back from school, I had to leave the system. I wasn't allowed to use it, because we wanted to make sure it was, no electricity in it. And then on the Tuesday, when I got home, we were finally able to go ahead and install the CD burner, well, the SCSI card. At the time, I decided to use Windows ME because, you know, I felt it had a lot of neat features. You know, system restore, things like that. Not that I really used it. You know, photograph viewer. I don't know why. I just kind of liked it. So, I installed this SCSI card with the help from my mum. We screwed it in, put the sides back on, took the machine up the stairs, powered it on. Windows came up, found new hardware, and it detected and installed the SCSI card. That was amazing. So the next thing I had to do was connect up the CD writer. Plugged one end of the cable into the back of the system, and the other end of the cable into... oh no, it was the wrong fitting! So, back to PC World, Mum went with the cable, and we had to get the right one, which cost another £10 on top of what we'd already paid. So, at this point, I bought an external CD writer because I didn't want to have to open up the computer, and what I did was spent over the odds, had to open up the computer anyway, and got a CD burner which was probably not as good as an internal one would have been. In fact, it would only burn at half the speed of the one in the median. However, if you listen to UXW Bill on that subject, a slower burn will produce better results. I never really thought about that, because I'm always like, oh yeah, get it done, no, fucking 1200 million speed, warp speed, doesn't matter if the room is plastered in bits of exploded CD. But UXW Bell, as always, the sensible one. But this CD burner did not have any buffer under and protection. So I mean, I had to put it at a lower speed. I could not burn at the fastest speed. So I was always burning at, 8 speed or, sometimes even lower, 4 speed. But I mean, it was a CD writer and it was attached to my computer and I could use it. While we were at the computer fair, we bought a pack of 50 CDs and, well, if I'm going to be honest, as many jewel cases. But wow. So, I recorded another album and burnt it to CD. But this time I used my mum's keyboard, which actually had a headphone output. My CD burner came with a line-in jack, so that you can actually play CD audio. You know how computers have got a CDN cable? I actually showed you that, or did I? Can't remember. But computers used to have a CD cable, basically an audio cable that would go from the CD drive to either the sound card, or if your motherboard had sound on board, it would go plug into the motherboard. And basically what that would do is that would play audio CDs and transfer, and the sound would be broadcast in an analog way down this cable. Now the external CD writer used a standard line-in cable from an output port on the back of the CD writer to the line-in jack on the back of your sound card to actually be able to do the same thing. Now, of course, I knew that this wasn't intrinsic to the working of the driver, and in any case, you can use digital audio playback. Because I was using Windows ME, and, even with the right software, Windows 98 and 2000 could do it. But I used this line-in cable, plugged it into the back of my mum's musical keyboard. And then I had the microphone as well. So, using the stereo mix, I was actually able to record from both of these channels at once. Absolutely brilliant. Therefore, I actually had much better sounding music, even if my singing wasn't as good. And yes, that's how good the 2001 custom belt is, ladies and gentlemen. It can withstand my singing! La 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 la. So around the time that I was getting to grips with my new music making technology, Temple Bank was about to start something that would change all of our lives. Now, it had been on the card since 1998 that Temple Bank School could close and that all of its students would be amalgamated either into other specialist schools or, if possible, into a mainstream school. Now, originally we were going to be going to a new school that was being built, which opened in 2000. However, this school started off on the wrong foot. They had had quite a lot of head teachers come and go, and, well, it was supposed to be really quite a good school. But, well, it didn't really start out so great. So, in May 2002, it was decided that perhaps we would move to a different school. So, that's basically, so that started. You know, we started to going to have a look at this school, and, you know, and then as time wore on, it became apparent that actually we were going to be moving to this school in September of 2002. So, well, the secondary part of Temple Bank closed down in 2002, whereas the primary part would remain open until 2004. Because I was 14 at the time, I went to the new school. And basically, so did a lot of my other friends from Temple Bank. Some of the students who wouldn't have coped with the mainstream environment went to a different specialist school. So what does this mean for me and my 2001 custom built? Well, I was actually supposed to be starting my mandatory exams. I was studying down in England at the time, so it was known as GCSEs. So I was gonna be starting in the GCSE year, which meant that I would need my computer to be working well and able to run all the programs that I needed of it. That was fine for the most part. I mean, at Temple Bank, you know, there was not that much homework to do, so I just needed a word processor. However, at Hanson, I was going to be doing PowerPoint presentations. I did music, so I wanted to be able to do that at home. And there was other things that, other wee programs that were going to help me with my schoolwork. Now, in July, I was given a MIDI keyboard by my old music and English teacher from Temple Bank. Very nice gesture. It wasn't a full-size keyboard, but it was from the 80s, it was retro, and it was cool. And it had one of the most amazing sounds ever. Sound 24 Mars 2. It was very much 80s synthesized. Used to love that. But I got this keyboard so that I could actually plug it into the computer. Now, I tried plugging it in, and it wouldn't work. So I put it to one side until, we started music in 2002. In September. My mum went back to the music shop, explained the problem, and they said, "Have you enabled MPU 401 in the BIOS?" Of course I hadn't. So I did that, and I was finally able to get MIDI. Unfortunately, there was quite a lot of latency, When I pressed the key on the keyboard, it would take about a second or so for it to register on the computer. And for some reason, messing around with the IRQ settings made it work a wee bit better. So I kind of changed the IRQ settings and did what I could do. And eventually I got it, to something like where I wanted it to be. Now, I was still using the 854 meg and 1.2 gig hard disks in tandem at this point. And for the most part it was doing fine. I mean, in the summer holidays, I think my mum had finally got fed up with me formatting. And she said something, to the effect of, Jay, you've got a small hard drive, you just have to, you'll just, use it the best you can. So I said, right, well, I'm going to put Windows 98 on there and I'm going to then leave it. And I actually managed to do that. I had Windows 98 installed, got a nice colour scheme going, got all my programs installed. Absolutely brilliant. But it really, and I managed to keep that going for quite some time, and I was using the computer for my schoolwork. It was brilliant. But it really was kind of getting to where I was struggling to be able to use all my programs and, do everything I needed to do. So, in November of 2002, Mum got me a 60 gig hard disk drive, a Seagate model. We fit it ourselves, knocked the power switch cable out, and the machine wouldn't have powered on, so we went back to PC World. The guy actually who sold us the hard drive, he put the switch back in for us. I got the machine home. Now, what I did was I put the 60 gig Seagate drive in, along with the 1.2 gig drive. Took out the 854 meg drive. Unfortunately, the 1.2 gig drive, we must have just kind of left the hard disk on enable cable select or something, because the computer would only detect the 1.2 gig drive. So I just kind of put a rudimentary Windows 98 install in there and messed about for a bit with it. And then on, that night, Mum said, well, we got the hard disk drive on the Saturday and then we fit it on the Sunday. On the Sunday evening, Mum said, right, let's have another go with it. If we can't, just have to, we'll have to leave it for tonight and do something about it. So I decided I'll unplug the 1.2 gig drive. The reason I had it there was because I liked from time to time to mess about with Windows 3.1, and at the time Virtual PC wasn't something that you could get for free. You had to pay for it, pay quite a lot for it as well, and it was actually still being made and distributed by Connectix. So, I would literally dual boot the system. Back when I had the other two drives, I used to, partition about 100 megs off for Windows 3.1, and, well, I didn't even have MS-DOS. I just used to use a Windows 95A boot disk, which the drivers for my Samsung CD-ROM drive that I had fitted were actually, the disk was actually bootable into Windows 95A. Brilliant. Well, when I said into 95A, I meant that version of DOS 7.0, which would support FAT16. FAT16 alone, and Windows 3.1 would run with it. So, I used to have a lot of fun with that. But eventually, I just thought, well, this is stupid, why do I want 1.2 gigs? What's that going to do? So I just unplugged the drive. We left it in the system, but I just unplugged it. We left it connected to the power supply as well, which was a bit of a stupid thing to do, so it would be powered up with nothing using it. But I was able to actually get the 60 gig drive working then. And my goodness, viva la difference. Had to format it. Doing a full format took about half an hour. And I was used to Windows being able to format, my other two drives in, 5 to 7 minutes each. It took longer to format the 1.2 gig than it did to format the 854 meg drive, but my goodness, I was not prepared for the time it took to format a 60 gig drive. I didn't full format it very often. So, formatted it, installed Windows ME on it, and my goodness. I mean, I've just learnt this lesson again recently, but what a difference a new hard disk can make to the boot up time of a system. This really did speed up the system by quite a way. But it was a 7,200 RPM drive. This was back when solid state was... This was back in a time where solid state was usually mentioned in chemistry and not information technology. Well, not in mainstream information technology. So it was a mechanical hard disk. And my goodness, it was brilliant. I was finally able to not only install all my programs, but install all of them. The full options, everything. I would never need to have a CD to hand, for using a program. Obviously, just keep them all for installing, but not for using. And just, wow. I had Office 2000, Print Artist 4, which takes up quite a lot of space. Just all sorts, really. Cakewalk for music, my music. Click and Play for, fun, really. And, there was all sorts. But for a time I tried a Windows 2095 dual boot. And, I don't know why I didn't really stick with that, but I decided to go back to 98. But then, in 2000, my sister had moved out, making her room available. And that was basically being used as a storage room come, knitting room for my mum, and then it kind of became the computer room. But my bedroom was due for a redecoration. And Mum decided I was old enough and ugly enough that I could have my computer in my own bedroom. Back in 2003, a month before I was due to turn 15. So I finally got to have the 2001 custom built in my bedroom. Now, at the beginning of 2003, a couple of things happened before then. I'd seen a book in Waterstones when I'd been out shopping with my parents. And once again, I have it to show you. Now, this book was about Linux. And unfortunately, I didn't have the money to buy it at that time. But once, I did have a voucher at home for Waterstones. I'd won it at, some award ceremony, probably for kids in foster care or something. So, the thing that made this book special is it actually came with a Linux distribution. Red Hat 8. And I've been quite curious about Linux for some time. Because I would sometimes go out and buy PC Utilities, which is a magazine known for having millions of, used to have around 500 applications on the one disk. Wow. So, I installed, I had that. I would, buy PC Utilities. And, it was pretty good. They would often talk about Linux and, different operating system, different to Windows. I was really quite interested. Because this book came out for about £22, I wanted it. I wanted it. I had to have it. I wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted it. So, eventually, I was able to go and buy it. Brilliant book, kind of showed you all the different things about how to use Red Hat. But not only that, you got 2 discs. Absolutely brilliant. Obviously this was the so-called publisher's edition of Red Hat 8. Didn't come with wine or anything like that, but it did come with a lot. And I booted this with Windows on the 2001 custom build. And even though it said that it required 128 megs of RAM to use the graphical system as a minimum, and technically speaking, because I was still using the motherboard's onboard graphics at this point, I only had 120 megs of RAM, so I was not even meeting that minimum requirement. It ran like a dream. However, because, you know, I had a lot of programs that I still used in Windows, I liked Office 2000, I used Click and Play, you know, and I was playing games. When I was Christmas shopping in 2002, I was in, I can't mind if it was a game shop or a record shop or whatever, but I thought I'd buy Mum a computer game for her median. Shows how much I knew about my mum. I bought her chess. Whoops. And I realised there was an offer. It was 2 for £10. No, hang on, it was 3 for £10. Now my brother, when I had the dual hard drive set up, he was always wanting to install a demo of Caesar 3 on the computer. And that really annoyed me because there just wasn't the space for it. So I finally had the disk space, so I bought him Caesar 3. I bought Mum the chess game. Because I got 3 games, I bought myself a copy of Theme Hospital. A game that I had been after since I played it. I played it for the first time in 1999 as a demo on the PlayStation, and I wanted it. And here I was finally able to get a copy. I had hours of fun with that game. Ran like a dream on the 2001 custom build. So, I mean, I got that game, and, you know, I used to play that game, and plus, you know, and any others, and used to, you know, install and use programs from any cover discs that I got hold of with any magazines. I wasn't confident enough to make the switch full time to Red Hat Linux, but I did used to, you know, kind of dual boot the hard disk every now and then, have a bit of a play about with that. You know, that sort of thing. I always used to uninstall it after I'd finished with it, though. Quite odd. But, unfortunately, in 2003, the screen that we had been using with the XCOM, do you remember me saying that the computer shop had said that I would need a new screen? They lied. I didn't. Well, at least not straight away. However, the screen did finally die sometime in February 2003. Quite a sad moment. However, my skilled technician was able to sort me out an old screen that was not in use, and he gave me it. It was a CTX monitor, and it actually had an on-screen display and buttons rather than dials. I was amazed. Once again, thank you! Fantastic screen, but before I used that, I did, for a time, use the screen that came with the Compaq, because the Compaq was just actually sitting unused while when we'd got the Median. So, I mean, I did get the Compaq screen was fantastic, a lot better than the screen I had, but I got the CTX screen, it was bigger, and I was able to use 1024 by 768 pixel resolution as opposed to 800 by 600. Fantastic. But then, in February 2003, I got to have the PC in my bedroom. Brilliant. And then, not long afterwards, it was my 15th birthday. So, around that time, my older brother bought himself a PlayStation 2. And I mean, I like the games, but I mean, I didn't necessarily want a PS2 at the time. How foolish was I? But I did fancy a DVD-ROM drive for the computer. I did fancy being able to play movies on so-called digital video discs. These magical discs that can play video. It's kind of like a CD, but it's not. It's slightly darker, and it kind of seems a bit more special, and I don't know what it is, but it's I mean, it looks exactly like a CD, but it isn't. But it has videos on instead of music. It's a special magic video CD thing. Special magic video disc. I quite fancy the DVD drive. Plus, I'd also be able to nick my mum's copy of WorkSuite 2002 that came with the Medium, which came on a DVD. Yeah. Not nick it permanently, but just kind of, quote-unquote, borrow the disc. Not you're supposed to do that, but the Medium's not really used now. Anyway, so, copyright law aside, for my 15th birthday, I got a DVD drive. And once again, Mum and I fit it together. And it was brilliant. It was amazing. Because not only did I get to experience WorkSuite 2002 on the 2001 custom belt, but my older brother bought me Austin Powers Goldmember. I still have the DVD, just not the box, because I threw out a lot of my old DVD boxes when moving to university. To try and reduce space a bit, I bought loads of CD wallets. So I got Austin Powers Goldmember. It was brilliant. Watching it, I mean, I'd seen the film, but being able to watch films on the 2001 custom belt, it was just magic. Worked fine in 98 and ME, but if I tried installing Windows 2000 and running it, there was a lot of video tearing. I just assumed that Windows 2000 put a lot on the video card. But then again, having said that, because it's integrated, it slowed down the processor that was stopping it being able to work well with the video card. But no matter, I used, for a time I used 98 and 2000 in tandem, later 95 and, and then sometimes, no, it was Windows 98 I used in tandem. 95 wouldn't work well with Power DVD 4. But in 2003, I mean, I was doing, quite well with this system. In April 2003, I got my first laptop. A Samsung V20. This was amazing. It was XP Professional, 512 megs of RAM, a 2.4 gigahertz Pentium 4, 30 gig hard drive, DVD-ROM CDRW drive. Absolutely brilliant machine. Then again, I say that about everything from the past I do. So I do. But, I quite fancied XP for the 2001 custom build. I was starting to really get to like it. At first I preferred Windows 2000, but I really quite fancied giving XP a go. This was back when XP was in the RTM or Service Pack 1 stage and could run on older hardware without being unbearably slow. So, I mean, I tried the disk that came with my Samsung laptop, but of course XP would need activated, and it wouldn't necessarily be a legal copy anyway if I'd installed it on the wrong system. But in August 2003, I finally managed to get my hands on a copy of Windows XP. Like I said, I tried it with the Samsung V20 disk and I was very pleased with the results. I was even able to record an album using it. Listening back at it now, there are a few cracks and, crackles and, jerks where the music, because 633 megahertz processor with running XP trying to record music, probably not the best idea. But like I said, in 2003, I finally got hold of my copy of Windows XP. And it just felt like magic, really. Because, I mean, it's like, here was an operating system that, at least on the 2001 custom built, would install everything out the box. Didn't need any drivers or anything with it. You know, you just installed it, and that's what away it went. You know, and I finally got to have the new Luna theme, and I liked the scanner and camera wizard, the way that it would organise your photographs into dated folders. I just really liked it, you know, and I was really getting into my photography, so yeah, and all my programs ran with it. I had Office 2000. I did want to, you know, completely XP up my system and get Office XP, but I mean, I managed to get a hold of that, but not until later. So I started my final GCSE year with that build. And like I said, you know, DVD tearing happened on Windows 2000. It happened in XP. If you're wondering what tearing is, it's basically, you know, when the image kind of, not all of it refreshes all at the same time, and you get kind of lines and bits of image. You know, you can tell when the image is transitioning from one state to another. Elmol3 has a good description in one of his videos. I can't mind which one, but he shows it off. He shows how it is with 3D Mark 2006 and Minecraft. But I mean, this DVD problem was starting to annoy me a bit, as was the HP CD writer that I was still using, that was creating more coasters and actual readable CDs. But for Christmas 2003, that would be sorted. When asked what I wanted for my Christmas, I said, well, I'd actually quite like a stick of memory, 256 megs, upgrade it a bit, and a new graphics card. Now, unfortunately, the motherboard for the 2003 custom built did not have... 2001 custom built, sorry, did not have an AGP slot. A lot of cheaper boards didn't. So I had to get a PCI graphics card. And I did. An NVIDIA GeForce 4MX 440. And before you start saying, yeah, boo, you know, I know what you're going to say. In the words of UXW Build, put your mouse down. Because this was a lot better than what I had. The Trident Cyberblade 3D was good for playing older mid-90s games. For watching DVDs and try to play anything on XP, nah. And while I was at it, I even was able to get a DVD writer. A Lighton drive, which was 8 speed, and that too was pretty good. What I was hoping to do with the 2001 custom built was use it to record videos to DVD. So on Christmas Day, I fit the new graphics card and the new what was it? Crevens? The new graphics card, the new RAM, and the new DVD burner to the system. And I was able to use a PC to TV kit that I'd got in summer 2003 for use with my Samsung V20 laptop. I was actually able to use that with the PC, which was absolutely brilliant. So I was able to actually sit in bed and watch DVDs on my telly. But with my Christmas money, what I did is I went out and I bought myself a Hauppauge WinTV tuner card. Can't remember the model number, but it was a basic one and had drivers for Windows 95 right up through, you know, Windows NT 2000, but it worked with XP, worked fine with XP. Wasn't too bad actually. But for recording videos, it would take about as long to process it as it did to record it. So I didn't really get to use it how I'd wanted to. because 633 megahertz Celeron really was kind of pushing the envelope for video recording and playback. Using a PC as a PVR probably need something a wee bit more powerful. In fact, the whole system was starting to, be a wee bit long in the tooth. And I got Office 2003 in December 2003. I managed to find a guy in the market still selling it in Clitheroe. I'd like to inform you all now that I do have a completely legitimate, fully licensed copy of Office 2003 on the shelf, ready to go should I ever need it. I got it with my students' disabled students allowance. However, I tried Office 2003, but I really quite fancied Front Page. And to be honest, I just found, while I liked how it ran and looked on the 2001 custom belt, I really did think that I needed something a wee bit more appropriate. So, I got a copy of Office XP instead. And those two together, loved it. And that's basically what I went with. Right up until I finished school in June 2004. Now, because it was my, GCSE year, I had to study for my exams. So I really didn't get to do too much messing about with the computer. What I did do, though, was buy some titles, some CD-ROM titles, to help me revise, because I found that they were a lot better than using, just textbooks on their own. And what I also did get, because I was studying systems and control, which required me to do a lot of technical drawings, I got myself a graphics tablet. And, I used that from time to time with the 2004 custom belt. And, that was good, that was alright. Now, 2004 custom belt, 2001 custom belt. The final upgrade that I would make to the 2001 custom belt happened in June 2004. 2 weeks before I was due to finish my exams. Now, we have, in the UK, you have a week's holiday in May, June, before you break up. Well, before the final last week, 6 weeks of the term, before you break up for the summer holidays. Now, during this week, I actually bought a sound card. We were visiting, we went for a holiday in the East Yorkshire town of Withensea. And they used to have a market. And on that market, there used to be a computer stall. Now, without necessarily knowing about different types of sound cards, all I could see was a 5.1 sound card for £8. So do you know what I did? I bought it. I got home, I put it into the system, and it was, I thought I'd noticed the difference, but probably really didn't. But hey, I had the option of 5.1 sound if I ever got enough speakers. So, I used that. And, and that was the 2001 custom belt. I used that as it was. I had no more work to do on it. So, after I finished my exams, I just used it for fun and games. I really went to town. I just, just installed every operating system I had for a wee while. Not all at once, but just, in town, installed it, reformatted it, had a play about with it. I had a week where I went to Windows 98, and then I thought, nah, forget this, and I put XP back. Now, in August I got the results for my exams. And I did really well. But by this time, I knew that my system could really use a bit of an upgrade. And I'd been looking in Maplin's. I'd found motherboards and processors, and, at that time I really wanted something powered by AMD. Don't know why. But on the receipt of me having done really well in the exams, my mum actually bought me enough the parts to build the 2004 custom built. Now, originally it was built into the 2001 custom built chassis. And it was, just that system was nowhere near as reliable as the 2001 custom built. I just had so many problems with it. Overheating, crashing. I mean, I put it together. I couldn't even get it to start Windows XP. It would just freeze up. I mean, I installed it all properly. So that machine actually went back to the technician and he built it properly. And I appreciate that. And it kind of worked in a fashion there on in. But remember the sound card I'd bought? That did not work. And I could not make it work. It kept having a conflict with the game part joystick port on the motherboard. And there wasn't even a port on there. It was just literally... It was just literally a header. And I couldn't disable it in the BIOS. So I'd still have the problems. Luckily, the computer guy on Withensea Market took the sound card back when I went back in October. But, I mean, I then got an optical mouse. But, I mean, that system was just... Whatever I tried to do with it, there was always problems. It ran XP. 2.0 GHz AMD Athlon XP 3000. 256 megs of RAM. Use a graphics card out of the 2001 custom built. And the hard drive. And the optical drives. But I mean, they weren't ridiculously old, they were quite up to date. Oh dear. Oh dear. Eventually I decided that the case was not doing anything for the airflow. So in June 2005, I bought a case. I bought a new case, refitted the 2004 custom built in that case, which then went on to house the 2006 custom built when the 2004 custom built died unceremoniously in May 2006. But here is where it gets interesting. Because I had two cases. I had two motherboards, had two lots of RAM, I had some smaller hard disks lying about, I had the old Samsung CD-ROM drive that I replaced with a DVD-ROM drive in 2003. I could quite easily get hold of a screen. So do you know what I did? I rebuilt the 2001 custom built with a wee bit of help from a foster kid that we'd actually taken in. You know, one of the foster kids that we'd actually taken in. The young lad helped me to be able to identify where the switches would go on the motherboard. I always knew he had talent for doing manual stuff. You know, I often thought that he would go far with that. You know, I still think he could, you know, if he puts his mind to it. Are you watching this? No, you're not, are you? So I rebuilt the system. Didn't know at this point what I was going to use it for, but my sister was looking for a computer. So in July at the end of June, no, it was in July 2001, they bought the system off me. And I went round to their house to set it up. Now, originally I only had a 1 gig hard drive, which became too small. So the technician from Temple Bank was at the mainstream school with us. He actually was able to sort me out a 4 gig hard drive, which was fine. But eventually they decided they wanted something bigger. I mean, they wanted to go online, and really, in 2005, the best way to do it was to have Windows XP. So, my sister's then boyfriend took me out to Maplin. He said he would put something towards me getting a big hard drive and then have me install Windows on his. He said, right, we're going to have a lads' afternoon in. So that's what we did. We went round, we took my 2004 custom built round to his house. I put the 160 gig drive in that. And I put the 60 gig drive into his system. And installed XP. The 60 gig drive was finally reunited with the 2001 custom built. Now, in 2006, at the beginning of 2006, I decided to upgrade the graphics on my 2001 custom built because I just happened to find a card at the computer stall on Withensea Market. We did used to go to Withensea quite a lot because, in 2004, we got a house there. So I brought home an ATI Radeon 9250 graphics card with 128 megs of video RAM. Guess where the 64 meg NVIDIA GeForce MX 440 went? That's right, back to the 2001 custom built. As did the old DVD burner, because I got a better one. And, I was building that system and basically it had all the upgrades that had been previously applied to it. But I did install another upgrade that I'd never installed on it before. A USB 2 card with front-facing USB 2 ports. Now, in my compact head disc video, you'll all know that I have a certain disdain for USB 2 cards running with versions of Windows older than XP. And there's a good reason for that. They tend to have a certain disdain for running with USB 2 cards whenever I'm around also. So, and in 2006, Microsoft were actually starting the whole Windows Genuine Advantage program. Now, originally when that came up, the copy of XP that I'd supplied wasn't necessarily the most legitimate of copies. We did both go legit by the end of 2006 though. However, my answer to that was just put Windows 98 on the system. When, the computer was nagging it wasn't legal. Didn't necessarily work too well though with the USB 2 card. Can't remember why I put the USB 2 card in the system, but I think, probably because, they bought a digital camera or something. I don't know, wanted to get online the modem. Modem was USB, I can't remember. But eventually, in July 2006, my sister's then boyfriend bought a legitimate copy of Windows XP and had me install it. So that was absolutely fine. I was able to do that, not a problem. And they used the system until, my sister got a Packard Bell in 2007. But once her, ex-boyfriend now, had got hold of my 2001 custom built, that did wonder. It seemed to me that when he got that system and started really learning how to use computers, I mean, I taught him some of the basics, but he started really learning how to use computers. It seemed to kind of help him in his job. Before I knew where he wasn't doing rounds delivering beer anymore. He was doing office work and doing important stuff. Not that having beer is not important. I mean, come on, you want to go out. It's important that pubs are stocked up with beer. But so what of the 2001 custom belt today? What of this computer that saw me through some of the most exciting, sometimes some of the most stressful, sometimes some of the most bittersweet times of my teenage years? What of the machine that basically was there when I grew up? What has become of it? Apparently it's still in use today by my niece, and it still goes. Would I have expected anything different from the 2001 custom belt? On reflection, I probably shouldn't. That system survived me, and all I did to it. That system survived me installing multiple versions of Windows on it, plus a few versions of Linux. I had to go with SUSE 7.3 in April 2004. That was a guilty pleasure I, gave myself when I shouldn't have been messing about with the computer, and I said that I'd stop it when I was studying for exams. But it was just brilliant, It got me where I am today. Well, actually, if it had been in charge completely, it would have got me a lot further than I am today, but it helped me to be able to, start a computing science course at university. I mean, I've graduated in computer science. I've done all this, all thanks to the fact that the 2001 custom belt kept my interest alive. So, I know it's 2 days past, but I hope you had a very happy birthday, 2001 custom belt. And may you keep going for many more years to come. At least I hope so. Anyway, thank you for watching this very long and drawn out video. Hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed listening to the story about my first PC to call my own. If you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe to my channel. Instructions on how to do so will follow. And while you're at it, why don't you go and have a look at my other videos if you've not already done so. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me again for my next videos.